Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum guys. How are you all? You are with Emma Readers and I have come up with a really good reading after some time. This is the novel Moby Dick by Herman Melville. So I'm gonna share the first chapter of this novel. Let's start. Call me Ishmael. I am a sailor and my happiest days have been spent at sea. I have had many exciting adventures in the watery part of the world, as I like to call it, but none as thrilling and terrifying as the search for Moby Dick. Yes, I was part of the attempt to kill the cunning whale, and this is my story. I left Manhattan and arrived in New Bedford, Massachusetts on a Saturday evening in December 1851. My plan was to catch a ferry from New Bedford to Nantucket and so that I could join the crew of Nantucket whaling ship. The Nantucket whaling business was a growing industry at that time, with hundreds of ships leaving American shores each year to hunt and kill sperm whales for their oil. The oil, which was extracted from the whale's fat or blubber, was used for lighting oil lamps and making candles, and was considered particularly valuable. I had always been fascinated by the beauty and greatness of whales. They lived in wild and distant seas, and I knew that whale hunting would provide me with the opportunity to explore exotic faraway places. Unfortunately, I missed the ferry to Nantucket and discovered to my disappointment that the next ferry was scheduled to leave on Monday. With only few cents in my pocket, I was forced to search for some very cheap accommodation. I made my way through the dark, bitterly cold streets of New Bedford, gazing into the candlelight windows of various inns, until I found one that looked affordable. The swinging sign above the door read, "The Spouter Inn." The owner's name, Peter Coffin, was painted in white underneath. I walked into the inn and found it full of sailors who were chatting merrily. After a brief search, I located the landlord and told him I wished to rent a room. "No rooms left, I'm afraid," said Coffin. "But there's one bed left. Would you mind sharing a room with a harpooner?" I did mind. In fact, I minded very much, but the landlord insisted me that the harpooner was a decent fellow and managed to persuade me that sharing a room with a perfect stranger was a much better option than spending the night out in the cold. "All right," I said. "I suppose to have no choice." "Good," said Coffin. "Take a seat in the dining room and I'll bring you some dinner." I made my way to the dining room and sat down at the table with 4 or 5 other sailors. Without delay, Coffin brought us a meal consisting of very generous portions of meat, potatoes, and dumplings. The food was absolutely delicious, and I quickly devoured every last bite. "Say, Mr. Coffin," I said as the landlord cleared away my plate, "is Harpooner here?" Coffin chuckled. "No, he won't be back. He won't be back till much later. He's out selling his head." "His head?" I exclaimed. "What on earth do you mean?" "The harpooner has just returned from New Zealand, where he collected some human heads," the landlord explained. "He's managed to sell all of them except one. He has to sell it tonight. It won't be right to try to sell a human head on Sunday morning when people are going to church." I could hardly believe my ears. "Mr. Coffin, are you mad?" I shouted. "Are you really planning to put me in a room with some savage who's out selling human heads?" Coffin grinned. "Calm down, young man. The heads are made of wax, I think. I assure you that the harpooner poses no threat to you. Anyway, it's almost midnight, and I doubt he will be returning to the inn tonight. Let me show you to your room. I'm sure you would like to get some sleep." Reluctantly, I followed the landlord up the staircase to a small room at the end of a narrow passageway. The room contained a table, chair, and 2 beds. I noticed a bag of clothing on the floor, which I assumed to belong to my roommate. The landlord wished me good night, and I put on my nightwear and went to sleep. I was awakened an hour or so later by the sound of the door opening. The harpooner had returned. I decided to remain perfectly still and not say a word until my roommate noticed me. The harpooner was a huge man holding a candle in one hand and a scarily lifelike head in the other. I watched him as he placed the candle on the floor and opened a large canvas bag from which he removed an axe and a wallet. Then he put the head in the bag and closed it. The light from the candle was weak and I could only see his face. His skin appeared to be yellowish purple in color and his cheeks were covered in large black squares which I assumed were tattoos. He was bald, except for a few strands of hair which were twisted up on his forehead. I had never seen a more terrifying looking man in my life, and had he not been standing between me and the door, I would have run out of there as fast as my legs could carry me. The harpooner changed into his nightwear, blew out the candle, and climbed into his bed. My heart was beating so loudly I could hear it beating in my ears. I decided I couldn't share a room with a madman after all, and I jumped out of my bed and ran to the door. Of course, it was pitch black in that room, and I tripped over the harpooner's bag. The harpooner sat up in surprise. "Who's there?" he shouted. "Please don't hurt me," I cried. "Landlord, Mr. Coffin, please save me, please." The landlord heard my screams and burst through the door a moment later, dressed in a nightgown and carrying a lamp. "Don't be afraid," said the landlord as he helped me to my feet. "Quick-Egg won't harm a hair on your head." "Are you sure about that?" I said. The landlord laughed. "Quick-Egg, young Ishmael here will be sharing your room with you tonight. Is that all right?" Quick-Egg was silent for a moment. "That's fine," he grunted. "Good," said the landlord. "I'll see you both in the morning. Good night." With that, the landlord walked out of the room and closed the door. "Don't worry, young man. I won't hurt you," said Quick-Egg. I nodded and climbed back into my bed, feeling strangely reassured. I fell asleep almost immediately. The next morning, Quick-Egg and I woke up early and made our way to the dining room. I had the opportunity to meet some of the other guests at the inn. They were all whalers, carpenters, blacksmiths, and harpooners. Some had only recently returned from a voyage. Others were making plans to leave again. We enjoyed our breakfast, a coffee, and hot rolls, while Quick-Egg dined on a large piece of steak, which looked barely cooked. Once we'd eaten, Quick-Egg lit his pipe and made his way to the lounge room, and I decided to go for a stroll. I returned to the inn after lunch and found the harpooner sitting in front of the fireplace, polishing a small wooden figure. Not wanting to spend the rest of the day by myself, I pulled up a chair and sat down beside him. "Are we going to share a room again tonight?" asked Quick-Egg, without looking up. "Yes," I said. "In that case, we are brothers," he said, extending a hand to shake mine. I smiled and shook his hand. We spent the rest of the day talking and getting to know one another better. Quick-Egg told me that he was a native of the South Pacific island of Rokovoko. His father had been the king of his tribe, and Quick-Egg was next in line to take his place. But Quick-Egg wanted adventure, so one day he hid on board a whaling ship that had anchored briefly at his island. Quick-Egg managed to persuade the angry captain to keep him on board and teach him the business of whaling. In no time at all, Quick-Egg became an expert harpooner known for his skill and accuracy. "I want to see more of the world," he said. "That's why I'm here. I want to go on a whaling trip." "Really?" I asked with delight. "I'm also going to Nantucket to find a whaling ship." "We'll go together," said Quick-Egg and smiled broadly. "After all, we're brothers now." After supper, we returned to our room, and Quick-Egg gave me $30 silver, half his fortune. Of course, I told him I couldn't take it, but he wouldn't listen to me. In his culture, he said, it was customary to share one's belongings with one's family members. I felt extremely touched by Quick-Egg's kindness and generosity. It felt good to make a new friend. So this was our first chapter, and I think that it was really good for you. So let me tell you that this is Moby Dick, but I think that it is summarized by Upsex, and it's the book I read in my school. So I decided that I should share the story with you. It's really good. I really like it, and so share it with your friends and family. Like it. And if you are new on channel, then please go and subscribe our channel. Thank you. Ya Rabbi Sydney.